Let's work on the concept of marginal rate of substitution in this video. And we're going to look at the case when the MRS is decreasing. So recall, what is a marginal rate of substitution? That is the willingness to exchange goods. So willingness to exchange goods. Now, mathematically, what does that mean? That means a slope tangent to this curve, because at different points we're willing to exchange goods in a different way. And let's prove it with some examples. Let's say we're over here, and right now we have, for instance, 7 apples and 2 bananas. Now this would be our slope. It would be quite steep. Now why would this be quite steep? That means that the willingness to exchange apples for bananas is quite high. So we're willing to give up many apples for just one more banana. Let's keep it just with intuition, no numbers needed, just to prove a point. So we're willing to exchange many apples for one more banana. And what's the intuition? Why would be willing to exchange a lot of apples? Because we have too many of them. We have 7 apples and only 2 bananas, and because we would like a bit of a balance, we would like one more banana. That would make us quite happy. We're willing to give up more apples for that. So maybe we're willing to give up, let's say, 2 apples, so we would be more comfortable with 5 apples and 3 bananas in this case on the same indifference curve, because recall, we're giving it up while keeping the same utility. So that would be the intuition here. That's the reason the slope is quite steep. Now let's move along the curve and see what's happening further on. So the slope is becoming more flat. It's becoming more flat over here. Just a second. And as we move along the curve, the slope to the indifference curve is becoming horizontal. It's becoming pretty flat. What does that mean? That means that we're willing to exchange less apples for one more banana. So let's write this example also on a point on this indifference curve. So let's say we're over here. At this point, we're willing to exchange less apples for one more banana. And for the sake of the example, let's assume that we would be willing to exchange only half an apple for one more banana. And why would that be the case? Well, let's give an example. Over here, maybe we have around 6 bananas and we're left only with, let's say, 2 apples. Because we already have so many bananas, to keep us equally happy by eating one more banana, we're really not wanting to trade off a lot of apples, because if we do, we're left almost without apples, and we want to have both goods, because that's what this indifference curve shows us. We're willing to have a more or less combination, a balance of both apples and bananas to keep us equally happy. So over here, when we have too little apples already, too few apples, we're not willing to give up many of them for one more banana. That's why the rate of change, the willingness to exchange apples for bananas, is much smaller. And just to prove it on a graph with the slopes, how to understand the intuition, look at the shape of the slopes. They become from steep, from quite vertical, to more flat, to more horizontal. And a steep slope shows a high willingness to exchange. A flat slope shows a low willingness to exchange. And the logic is just what we said. When we have too much of one good, we're not really willing to exchange any more for it, because we have enough of it. And that's what's happening over here. We have so many bananas already that we're not willing to exchange too many apples for one more banana. And this is the case of the decreasing MRS. The slope, the marginal rate of substitution, is the slope to the indifference curve, which is diminishing along the curve. Hope this makes sense. In the next video, we'll look at the opposite example. What if we have an increasing MRS?